Cha. There it goes. Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction recovery issues, and topics. Now, I've got some questions for you real quick. Why do so many of us keep sabotaging our own lives even though we know what's best for us? What if some of the pain we carry doesn't start with us, but it actually runs deeper across generations or even lifetimes, possibly? To answer some of those questions, we've got Kerie Logan. She is a human consciousness guide, and she's going to teach us all about, well, what it means to really be human and how we can make the best of it. So, how are you doing today, Kerie?
I'm doing awesome, Keegan. I'm doing
Glad to
really
hear.
well.
I'm really glad to hear that. So, I've kind of heard of a human consciousness guide before, but I never, that was before I got into the whole healing and like actual bettering myself kind of aspect of life. So, I never really bothered to dive into it. I was like, I know what consciousness is. It's me. I'm conscious, right? I think, therefore I am. But that's
Right.
probably not as far as it goes, right?
No, it's not. It is clearly not, and we'll unpack that today.
All right. So why don't you give us a little bit about yourself? Like, who are you? Where are you from? What's your background like? And what got you into becoming a human consciousness guide?
Well, my background is, well, like most people, I started off in the corporate world doing, what you think you should do to pay the bills, put food on
Mm-hmm.
your table, all that stuff. And I got to a point where I wasn't happy anymore, and I wanted to do something that had more meaning, more purpose, more calling for me. What do I want to do? Not what society or my parents or environment or culture wants me. What do I want to do?
Yeah.
And I really fell into it literally was handed to me in my lap,
Hmm.
the job that I became a clinical certified hypnotherapist, and I just
Huh.
thrived at it. It literally was my gift, my calling, and it was great because I got so much training, so much training. I mean, I was learning how to be a coach before life coaches were being advertised. I mean, it was really cool, and I got an award as the best coach for the year in
Whoa.
2004. Yeah, and I've been voted for Salem, Oregon, the best hypnotherapist for the past 15 consecutive years.
Whoa.
Yep. So
Huh.
I'm pretty darn good at what I do, and I get referrals all the time from doctors, therapists, you name it, psychologists, all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of, even mechanics are are referring me. And how I got to be the human consciousness guide is, this is, hopefully this isn't too woo woo for your show,
No.
but in um, I used to teach a law of attraction class. I think it was back
Ooh.
in 2010, and I taught it for 2 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
decided I didn't want to teach it anymore. I wanted to do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I did a mastermind class, and in 10 months, I manifested over 22 things my heart desired.
Whoa.
Literally manifested it. And I
Huh.
woke up one morning, and what speaks to me said, "You're going to write this book. Here's the table of contents. Go sit in front of your computer and start typing."
Mm.
And so when I got to the chapter 2 of understanding the power of our emotions, that's when I learned that all of our emotions have a vibrational set point. And I was guided to break it down into 3D, 4D, and 5D human consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so fascinated by it that I was like, I wonder if there's research on this. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually was guided, yeah, go online. Because I question, it's like something is talking to me, a
Uh-huh.
higher self, a higher being. I want to know,
Uh-huh.
are you factual? And it
Yeah.
was factual. Dr. David Hawkins did the
Uh.
clinical map of human consciousness, but
Hmm.
he never broke it down into 3D, 4D, and 5D.
Huh.
And I wanted to talk to him and be like, "Do you know what you discovered?" But he died that year. He literally died
Oh.
that year. I know. And a lot of people wondered, was him coming through to me about his incomplete work and where
Hmm.
he wanted it to go. I don't
Hmm.
know. Um,
Interesting.
so the so the images that you can find online for free that break down the 3D, the 4D, and the 5D are on a website, mastertheupperrooms.com. Free stuff, free images, and it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It is a complete tool. And as we were, talking earlier, like the example of anger, when someone is stuck in anger, we always tell them, calm down, get
Mm-hmm.
grounded, balanced, and centered, because we all know if you make a choice, a decision, and an action in that moment, you're going to sabotage yourself. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to regret it. And
Yeah.
literally, it is a vibrational frequency, thought pattern, and emotions, behaviors of getting grounded, balanced, and centered, because then
Hmm.
you can solve problems. You're
Huh.
not stuck in black and white thinking
Uh-huh.
anymore. You can see the gray areas.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. So not everything is just black and white. There is a little bit of gray in there too. So it's kind of like yin and yang, right?
It is, yes. So it's kind of like I give the example of everyone is a teacher and student for one another.
Yeah.
Everyone is. And the
Mm-hmm.
hardest lessons we learn in life come from those teachers.
Yeah.
And I like to call them pain lessons.
Ooh,
Okay?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ev- Everybody has a pain story. But the problem I see that happens in society is we get so stuck in the human experience that we
Mm-hmm.
can't realize our soul is here to learn a lesson. And
Mm.
maybe why we're here on earth as this soul is to learn the lesson of unconditional love,
Hmm.
of equality, accepting everybody, of
Uh-huh.
having more peace and harmony, and maybe it is to teach you how to set healthy boundaries, how to speak your truth,
Mm-hmm.
how to have a healthy self-esteem instead of one that is just so prestigious and cold and righteous.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For if that's the lesson that we're here to learn, that would be amazing. And but that's the hard thing, right? Is that there's so much going on in the world that it keeps us from loving because there's so many obstacles to love. Does that make sense?
It does, but the logic is a lot of us people didn't grow up in a 4D human consciousness home. We grew
Mm.
up in a 3D. And the
Yeah.
example I give, and I did a podcast episode about it, is imagine you're a little girl running in the house playing, and you're all excited, and the rule is you shouldn't run in the house. You
Mm-hmm.
know it. But you're
Yeah.
playing with a new toy or chasing an animal or something, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
having fun.
Yeah.
And by accident, you hit the coffee table and you knock over mom's favorite vase and it shatters into
Mm.
pieces.
Yeah.
Most kids, we freak out. We immediately go into the mode of regret and sadness. We start crying.
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid. We literally get afraid that we're going to get yelled at, because the
Yeah.
majority of the time we got yelled at, Kean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
And what happens with that kiddo is that child spirals down. The parent doesn't have to do it. The child, literally, when you're yelling at that kid, the child spirals down into regret, into
Mm-hmm.
despair and hopelessness, into guilt, remorse, feeling judged, inadequate, blamed, all the way down into shame and humiliation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where our core wounds start, where we believe, I'm not good enough.
Mm.
I always screw everything up.
Yeah.
I'm unlovable. Because if you grew up in a 4D consciousness home, your
Mm-hmm.
mom would go over to you, she'd get on her knees, she'd do eye contact with you and say, Sweetie, there's a reason why we have this rule in the house of no running.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why, and you would be calm. You wouldn't be angry. You would talk in a calm tone of voice, a caring, loving voice, and say, I
Mm-hmm.
know this was an accident.
Mm.
And I hope that you learn the lesson of not running in the house, because I don't
Mm.
want you to get hurt. I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to get hurt. So let's
Mhm.
clean this up together. And yeah, you might be you can ground them for a week or whatever, but you
Mhm.
talk to them in a loving, caring tone of voice. You're not yelling at them or
Mhm.
making them feel stupid or inadequate.
Mhm. Ooh. You know,
You see the difference?
yeah, I totally see the difference, but you also just highlighted something for me that I don't know if it has been noted before, but the word ground or grounded. So, one of the things that you were talking about earlier was whenever someone is angry, we try to tell them to calm down, to ground, and center themselves.
Yes.
But whenever we're children and we get in trouble, we get grounded. So it's like the adults trying
Yes.
to ground us. But whenever now, as an adult, and we're hearing to ground ourselves, it's like, I don't want to get grounded again. I've already been grounded before. I know how
Right.
that feels.
Right. And maybe we should change the terminal that word from being grounded to this is, and I hate the word punishment also.
Mm
It's just a terrible mean. It's
hmm.
I would say, you're going to be on a time of reflection.
Mm hmm. Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
To me, that's a better word.
Mm hmm.
We're just going to have a time of reflection to think about why we have these rules.
Yeah.
And it's just a time of reflection would be a more positive way, a
Mm
more positive tone than you're grounded or you're punished or.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it really reminds me too of I've heard someone have the argument that people are inherently bad because we don't teach children to lie. But whenever they do something and they lie to us seemingly inherently, it's because something is compelling them to say the wrong thing. And I had to
Yes.
sit there and do the argument of like, no, it's because we taught them how to fear consequences. At least that was my argument.
Yes. Well, and it is, and they're coming from that fear-based mindset because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why they lie.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is if when you catch the lie, you can you can just say what it is. You
Uh-huh.
can laugh about it and say, you know what, um, I can tell you're afraid right now and you're feeling kind of fearful and you just
Uh-huh.
lied. And so let's talk about that. What are you
Uh-huh.
afraid about?
Ooh,
And so you're
yeah.
disarming them. You really disarm them. Like,
Uh-huh.
what are you afraid about?
Uh-huh.
Because I want to better understand you. Why are you
Ooh.
afraid?
Oh man, so I think we're just actually kind of I think I figured out a thing of what makes parents maybe act that way too is because they don't know if they're going to be good parents. They don't know their
Yes.
children. So they're going to act in that same kind of retaliation, that reaction
Yep.
mindset. They're not going to
Yep.
be, "Oh, wow, holy crap." Huh. Hmm. That
And
just
that's why I did a whole episode on why we should not parent the way that we were parented. I
uh
really I firmly believe in it because
mhm.
when we get triggered,
Mhm.
we will go back and do things exactly what our parents did to us. And if it was harsh and cruel or whatever, once you
Mhm.
do it, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
You can't
Un-
take back the words. You can't take back the spankings. You can't take back the punishments. You can't take it
mhm.
all back. And then you regret it. And then you beat yourself up and you'll be like, I'm just like my dad. I'm just like my mom.
Yeah.
I'm a failure. And you
Mm.
promised yourself, vowed yourself you would never do that. But if you
Uh-huh.
can learn to manage your emotions, be more self aware, that's why I
Mhm.
called it Master the Upper Rooms. It is mastering yourself,
Uh-huh.
your upper rooms of emotion, how you could be in chaos and crisis and be the eye of the storm where
Mm,
you
yeah.
can literally disengage and be in that presence of peace and just observe all the chaos going on. And that's your place of power. How do I want to respond
Mhm.
instead of react? How
Mm,
do I want to just sometimes silence is golden?
yeah.
Maybe there is nothing to say because you
Mhm.
realize all that person wants to do is fight.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Ooh. That's a really powerful disarming technique too. But some people might consider that the cold shoulder and think that that's impersonal or something, right?
Yes, and some people do, and you can just that's why I say be transparent, man. And just
Mm.
say, I don't have a response for this. And that's being honest.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have a response for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just say I need to sit with this for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, for sure.
that's being honest, and that's being sincere.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people do try to bait us, and they
Mm.
want a reaction, and if you know what they're doing, sometimes you need to redirect it, or
Yeah.
change the subject. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard because you can change the subject and they still draw you back in, they still draw you back in. But
Mm-hmm.
that's where, when you learn it's a game, you're in a place of power and you can just
Uh-huh.
disengage.
Yeah.
It's not
So,
you can, it's like it's not fun anymore.
mm-hmm. Yeah. It's whenever one side of the team stops playing, whenever one team stops playing, the game just collapses, right? And
Yeah.
that's how they view it, is it's their game that they're trying to play, and you're a player, but if you take yourself out of their game, then they're kind of left with nothing. Is
Well,
that
and
kind of...
yes, and in a way, they could feel like, and I know this is going to sound weird saying this, but they could feel like they actually won when you say, I don't have a response. I
Mm,
need to
yeah.
sit with this. And they could feel like they won, but in reality, they actually didn't win. It just means
Mm,
you just decided, I don't want to play this stupid game anymore.
yeah. So
But
what
you're
do you
not
think...
saying it that way. But,
Uh-huh.
you know.
So what do you think is going on whenever there's that energetic exchange of like back and forth of like, I'm right, no you're not, I'm better, no I'm better, or what's kind of going on there? Is it 3D versus 3D? Because 4D is saying that you're disengaging from it because
Yeah.
you're not necessarily better than, but you're thinking outside of those lines. Would that be more correct?
It is. So when you're in 3D human consciousness, you're going to want to fight. You're going to want to
Mm.
argue. You're going to
Mm.
want to prove your point. I'm
Okay.
right and you're wrong.
Huh.
And that's where sometimes you're not right, and sometimes you're not wrong, and sometimes you are right and wrong. You know, there's both, there's so many different dynamics. And
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I've done an episode of how to communicate with difficult people, and I
Mm.
always say to use the sandwich approach. Have you ever heard
Oh.
that before?
Uh, I know I have, but for the audience out there and for my own refresher, would you care to indulge us?
Okay. So the bread is the positive, the middle is the issue. And
Yes,
you
yes.
end with the positive. Yep. And you
Yep.
always say I statements instead of you. And
Mm-hmm.
if you need to use like a you statement or something that's going to sound blaming, you
Mm-hmm.
always say we or us. So for
Mm-hmm.
an example, I would be
Hmm.
like, Keegan, I really care about you, but I really feel like we need to have better communication with one another. And I was wondering, and see how I said it, we need to have,
Uh-huh.
instead of you, Keegan, need to have better
Uh-huh.
communication skills. I'm
Yeah.
using an inclusive where we need to have better communication skills with one another, because
Mm-hmm.
there's times I feel like I'm hurting your feelings, and that's not my intention. And I
Mm.
really care about you, and I want to, instead of arguing, I want us to sit down and have, you know, a good conversation without us storming out of the room. I
Yeah.
want all of us to just hear one another, and validate our feelings, and get a positive solution. Do you think we can do that together?
Mm.
And you see how you put it, you're totally disarming, you're
Uh-huh.
being, and that was just throwing it out there. That's how I would communicate with the person, because
Uh-huh.
the person wants to fight, the person wants to argue, but
Mm.
you're taking your armament off,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like you're standing there saying, look, this is how it is. I you know I want us to get along. I don't want to fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Ooh. I never really thought about it that way, where you're the one taking the armor off and
Yeah.
essentially saying like, hey, like if you want to keep doing this, it's essentially letting them know like you're attacking someone that is vulnerable. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
it is, and well,
mhm,
and it does make them think, because it's like, hey, I'm here to get along. I'm here to be friends with you. I'm here to find a solution. I'm not here to fight.
mm,
And it works really, really well. And that is a 40 trait that you're
okay.
doing. You
Huh.
know, you're taking yourself out of the need to prove your point, to make
Mhm.
them feel bad, to, you know, to be cold and self-righteous or a scorekeeper or defensive or detached. You're
Uh-huh.
literally rising up saying, you know, hey, let's just take put our weapons off to the side, sit down and talk. You
Yeah.
know, let's just get real.
Mhm. And that's really the point of communication is finding out what the end goal is, right? What is the common ground?
Yes.
So,
Yes, and it is.
okay, but that's kind of the point, right? We don't always think that we have the same common ground or the same end goal. I think that's where the mismatch happens.
And that's totally okay.
Mm.
And that's the part of accepting everybody for who and what they are, how they
Mm.
think, how they feel. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
mean I'm better than you or I'm right and you're wrong. It's just information.
Hmm. There you go. So it's kind of like a little bit like the art of detachment, right? Where we don't own anything per se, but it's an
Yes.
experience.
Yes, I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm not attached to you agreeing with me or you disagreeing with me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
completely neutral.
Huh.
And the thing is your intentions is really what matters too. Is
Uh-huh.
what is your intention? Is your intention to find a positive solution,
Mm-hmm.
or is your intention to make this person feel like crap? I mean, you
Ooh.
got to ask yourself that, you know,
Yeah.
that question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so self-awareness is so key and so critical. And then the other thing that just popped in as an intuitive hit is body language. Oh man, someone can
Ooh.
totally say that they are congruent with it and everything, but their arms are crossed and they're
Uh-huh.
scowling at you, and the look in their eyes can like burn lasers in you. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, Keegan.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
their actions do not match their words.
Oh, not even a little bit. And those are the ones that sometimes we want them to be on our side. We want them to be friendly. We want them to maybe just be on our team. But for some odd reason, they may see something in us that they don't like, or maybe we still see something in them that we don't like. But how do we address that kind of thing, and what really causes us to see something in someone that we don't like?
Well, we kind of touched on this earlier, and it was beautiful about the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, if you can't accept someone for who they are, there's something about you that you're
Mm.
not accepting.
Mm.
Something something deep about you, and they just triggered it. And what I say is, when it gets triggered, that's the opportunity to go within yourself and ask those questions. Why did I get triggered by this? What did he do? Who did he remind me of?
Mm.
You know, like, oh,
Uh-huh.
did he remind, and it could be where that person triggered you, where they reminded you of your dad, when your
Mm-hmm.
dad was, you know, very authoritarian and self-righteous, and they spoke to you in that same tone.
Uh-huh.
And so maybe what you need to do is you need to work on forgiving your dad, and
Mm.
forgiving yourself for just because a lot of times when we get triggered, we beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
We do. And maybe what it's trying to teach you is, I just need to accept my dad for who he is. Yeah, I can love him, but I don't like him. And what I
Mm-hmm.
don't like is how he treated me and his behaviors. But I can
Mm-hmm.
still love him because he created me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Period. He just created me. You know, and I'll let him be who he wants to be, and I'll just go on with my life and he'll go on with my life. And so
Mm-hmm.
when someone talks to you in that authoritarian tone again in the future, you can really stop and reflect and be like, oh, that's just the voice of my dad. That's the voice of the past. I'm just going
Mm.
to let it go. And you let it
Mm.
go. You let it
Mm.
float. You let it float on by. So there's a technique I
Okay.
teach, Keegan. It's
Sweet.
called seeds blowing in the wind.
Ooh, like a
All right?
dandelion.
Yes. And so when we're around anybody,
Mm.
especially dysfunctional, toxic people, the words they speak are like seeds blowing in the wind. And when they say
Ooh.
something that triggers you, the
Mm.
only one that grabs that seed is you. And you water it with how
Mm.
dare you, your anger, your spite, your resentment, your regrets, your guilt, your remorse. You water it, you lose sleep over it, it grows
Mm.
roots and it festers.
Oh.
And if you can learn to
Mm-hmm.
recognize those triggers as seeds blowing in the wind, you
Mm-hmm.
have a choice where you can remember, do I want to torture myself and grab that seed and water it, or do I want to let it float on by? They're
Mm.
not worth it. It's not worth it. It
Yeah.
drags you down. It drags you down into 3D human consciousness ways of thinking. And when you
Mm.
let it float on by, you're accepting that person. I'm just going to say this as an asshole. And you just let it go. It's not you, it is them. You just let it go.
Oh man, I love that because a lot of us do have that issue where we have a traumatic past or we just have those
Yep,
triggers, as you
yep.
said. And I've heard it before from some people saying that we don't actually heal from our traumas or triggers. And then I've heard some people say that we do on certain levels in areas like that. And my personal experience right now is that we heal, like the trigger is always there, the trauma is always present, right? But what I heal is my reaction to it, more or less.
Yes, and you're disarming it. So think
Mm.
about, I did an episode on healing happens in layers. And
Okay.
so think about when you experience any kind of trauma. And there's like
Yeah.
17 different ways we can get traumatized. But just imagine an iceberg, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We only see the top 10% on the iceberg. And that
Mm.
very first top percent that you chip away to start healing is raw, it is red, it is hot, it
Mm-hmm.
is the worst part. But you chip it away,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get, your nervous system has to rebalance
Mm.
because you're not so hot and angry and raw anymore. And as the nervous system rebalances, then it floats a new cube up to the top.
Ah.
And when you look at that new cube, you're
Uh-huh.
looking at it with new eyes, a
Uh-huh.
new perspective, a new
Yep.
way of thinking.
Yep.
And you pick that one apart, you pick it apart. You do through that whole thing, and
Uh-huh.
literally, because 90% of the iceberg is below the water, what you
Mm-hmm.
don't see. And
Yep.
that's the same with all our traumas. It, you got to chip it away, bit
Mm.
by bit, but each time you go back to the same subject, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at it fresh,
Mm.
new. It's
Uh-huh.
not as hot or active.
Yeah. Yeah. I oof, I love that analogy because it takes away the personal aspect of having anything to do with the trauma. Does that make sense? To where
Yes.
I'm not necessarily choosing to go back and rehash it and dig it back up. My nervous system is going to let me know whenever it's ready to deal with it again.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh, okay. Because a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
you,
us
yeah.
want to just get the trauma just out of there in one go, right? So we can't do that.
You can't do that, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, you have to, that's the human experience. The human
Mm.
experience wants it now, but the soul experience is like, sweetie, you're here to get this whenever you're ready to get it. There is
Mm.
no condition, there is no timeline, there is no
Mm.
such thing as time. You're going to heal when it's right for you. So
Huh.
show yourself grace, kindness, acceptance, patience,
Mm-hmm.
because we are all perfectly imperfect. Everyone
Oh,
is.
yeah. Yeah. So, real quick though, whenever we are talking about this whole healing and looking in the mirror and having people trigger us kind of thing, what do you say to the people that go, "Yeah, nothing triggers me. No one triggers me. I don't need no healing, no nothing like that. I don't got any trauma. I don't got triggers." Like, are they human or are they an
They
NPC, like a
no, they're
non-playable
stuck
character?
in. They're actually, those are probably the most wounded ones of the most. I
That's
would
kind of what I
say,
would
because
say.
they're really stuck in denial, and it's the illusion that everything is fine, and they're wearing a mask, and they're going throughout life wearing a mask, pretending it's all fine,
Mm-hmm.
when really it is not. And they're just trying to manage and hold life together
Mm.
every single day, trying to appear perfect. It's like that perfectionism,
Mm-hmm.
trying to appear that I have the perfect life when in reality they don't. And I'll give you a good example of that.
Okay.
Um, I had a client, this was over 20 years ago, that wanted to end her program, her weight loss program, when I worked for
Uh-huh.
Positive Changes Hypnosis. And
Uh.
I said, "Why?" She's like, "I need the money back." I'm like, "Why?" And she said, and this is so horrible to confess, because it went against my morals, values, and ethics. It really did.
Mm.
But the center I was working at was in the Bay Area. It was in Marin County, and Marin County is very prestigious and very wealthy. And
Okay.
this woman knew her dad was dying and had a lot of money. And so they
Mm.
went out, her and her husband bought a house they couldn't afford, threw elaborate parties expecting that money and everything, were driving prestigious cars, had this whole fake lifestyle of wealth and abundance. Look
Mm-hmm.
at me, look at our perfect life. Well,
Uh-huh.
when he died, he had really nothing left. It all went to medical bills.
Oh man.
And she had the house still, she had the car payments still, she
Mm.
had this extravagant lifestyle, all these credit cards, and and she was waiting for him to die, and he left her nothing.
Mm. Ouch.
Yes,
Yeah.
ouch. And see that, but that was a choice she made.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she has nobody to blame but herself. And
Mm-mm.
it's so hard, because it's like, why did you do this to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why? But I have to answer that question is, no, there was a valuable lesson in that experience that she needed to learn, and it was
Mm-hmm.
personal, just
Mm-hmm.
for her, and only she knows the answer to that.
Yeah. So I love how you just wrapped it up with that little bow because it really does highlight the human experience, right? We are here in every big bump that we have, whether it seems big or not, is there to teach us a lesson of sorts, right? It's not just to be an
Yes.
experience. It's not just, and you mentioned it earlier, we are both student and teacher. So how do we take those lessons that we learn and flip them to be lessons for others? Or do we do that on purpose?
Well, the way that we kind of flip it as we're teachers and students for one another is by being storytellers. A
Mm.
lot of times when we tell our story, a person can relate, and they can actually learn from the story that they heard. So in a lot of episodes, I like to do metaphor stories, because
Mm.
the metaphor stories actually make people think outside the box.
Yeah. So that's why
Yeah.
like fairy tales are such a big thing to help teach children early on, is especially right because it is that thinking that is not quite within the realms of our everyday kind of thing, right? It's thinking beyond imagination, if you will.
Yes, well, and if you think about children's books, a lot of them nowadays are geared towards helping kids understand their anger, and how to
Hmm.
manage their anger,
Huh.
how to calm down when they're angry. So they use an example of a rabbit, let's say,
Uh-huh.
that was always angry, always getting in trouble, always hurt. But maybe what the rabbit really needed to learn is that when I'm mean to people, they don't want to be my friend.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
maybe, yeah, and maybe I need to learn to control my anger and my temper because I say mean things when I get angry.
Mm.
And so
Huh.
even, storybooks for kids can teach them how to get out of, talked at the 3D framework and
Uh-huh.
into up into here.
Uh-huh.
And so it is all about looking at your life is, what did this what did this person teach me? Did
Mm.
this person teach me that I needed to respect myself more?
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn how to set healthy boundaries. Maybe the person taught me that I'm a people pleaser and they took
Mm.
total advantage of me, and maybe I have to learn how to say no. Maybe I have to learn how to say let me think about it instead of immediately saying yes.
Mm.
What did this person teach me? Did they teach me that my opinion does matter?
Yeah.
How I feel does matter?
Yeah. Ooh.
And maybe what I was teaching that person is that you can't talk to people that way.
Uh-huh.
You can't treat people that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to stand up in front of you and I'm going to say, I've had enough. So maybe they might not get it in the moment, but maybe later on in life, they'll
Uh-huh.
reflect on that conversation where you said, I'm no longer going to allow you to treat me like this. And they'll
Yeah.
meet someone later on in life that they really like, and they get angry and they blow it and they want
Mm.
forgiveness, but that person they cared about said, no, I don't want to be with someone like you because you're
Yeah.
angry all the time. And that is their lesson.
Mm. Yeah. Ooh. So I wonder, there's probably a lot of people out there that just have a lesson just waiting to be uncovered, but they're just a little afraid to get to it, right?
It can be, and a lot of times instead of hitting rock bottom and having
Mm-hmm.
to have a painful lesson, you can start working on it now. You
Mm.
really, really can. I mean, there's so many questions that we can stop and we can go within, we can journal.
Uh-huh.
We can really ask ourselves, like, let's say you, Keegan, were in a bad relationship. Really sit down and ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
what did that person teach me about myself?
Mm.
What
Mm.
was I doing that was not supporting the relationship but was damaging the relationship? What was I doing? And
Yeah.
then when you find out what it is, what could I have done better? And what
Mm-hmm.
you could have done better is up in the 40 realm. Was it
Mm.
maybe I needed to say kinder words? Maybe I
Mm.
needed to be more optimistic or more patient or more understanding. Maybe
Uh-huh.
I wasn't affectionate enough maybe I needed to be more affectionate, but I allowed my past traumas to make me just be so detached I can't
Mm.
connect to other people.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, real quick, while we just brought up the 3D and 4D thinking again, do you mind if I bring up the charts for the 3D and or
Yeah.
4D so that way we can
Yeah.
show the audience what we're talking about?
Yep.
All
So,
right. So you should be able to see that right there. Can you see that, Carrie?
yep.
Awesome. So that should be the 3D human consciousness. So
Yeah.
how does this work? Can you read us through it real quick? I see numbers on the side on the left, and then a whole bunch
Yes.
of words which look like emotions, really.
Yes. So a good example is we were talking about earlier is I had a gentleman come in that was experiencing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, and anxiety about trying new things.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at him and I said, I think you're stuck in fear. And let me
Mm.
ask you these questions here. Let me just
Okay.
ask, I'm going to say these emotions and tell me, does it align with you? And I
Okay.
said, so probably lately you've been restless, you've been irritable, you're experiencing anxiety, that's why you're here. You
Mm-hmm.
withdraw yourself from life, your nervousness, you're guarded, you're probably hyper vigilant, you're
Mm-hmm.
suspicious maybe of other people, maybe even me. You're
Uh.
worry wart, wishy washy. You have fear of failure because you've tried other times to change and nothing seems to work. You might
Mm.
second guess yourself often. Your mind can stew where you can't sleep at night. and you have an inability to trust anyone. Does any of that resonate with you? And when I said that to the guy, he literally grabbed his cell phone, held it up, and he said, "That's all in my notes. How did you do that?" And I
That's
said,
crazy.
"Because you will." I know. He said the same exact thing. That's crazy. How did you do that? I said, "You align with the thought, the mindset of fear. That's where
Mm.
you're lined in. You have fear of eating new foods, fear of trying new things, fear of, venturing out and going on vacations. You have lots of fear. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're stuck." And I said, "But here's the good thing.
Mm-hmm.
My job, if you want to flip it to the 4D, I said,
Okay.
my job is to help you and support you in having the courage to do something different,
Mm.
to have the healthy sense of pride and confidence and security in yourself that yes,
Mm.
I can do this because you are here for a reason and you're paying me this money to help you. So you want to get what you pay for. So I'm here to give you the courage to do this.
Uh-huh.
And wouldn't you like to be more grounded, balanced, and centered, more
Mm-hmm.
confident and comfortable with life
Mm-hmm.
instead of fearful and full of anxiety? Wouldn't you like to be open to trying new things?
Yeah.
Trying new opportunities? And he's like, "Yes, I would. I want that. I want that." I said, "Okay, because we're going to be realistic about this. We're not
Uh-huh.
going to be attached to the outcomes." You can see that on 250. We're not going
Uh-huh.
to be attached to the outcomes because some things might work and some things might not work, but at least we're willing to try.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
that's being optimistic. How I said it, at least we're being willing to try. And
Uh-huh.
I'm being upbeat about my tone of voice. He shows the willingness to change. I'm
Mm.
engaging him and I'm inspiring him. I'm filling him with hope,
Uh-huh.
which then, and I'm being genuinely friendly and I'm being helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell him, "Hey, and I'm being sympathetic to all of that. We can do this." And that's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm being open minded and I'm getting him to be open minded. So we
Yeah.
talk about the solutions, and
Hmm.
that helps him overcome the learning blocks. And
Ah.
that aligns with 310. You see that? And then I
Uh-huh.
talk about forgive yourself, for being stuck in fear. I
Mm-hmm.
understand it. It's very common that people get stuck in fear because we live in a world right now where there's so much uncertainty and anxiety, but you
Mm-hmm.
can accept that. That's how the
Yeah.
world is right now, but you can accept that I choose to be emotionally calm. I
Mm.
choose to know. I choose to be level-headed. I choose to take responsibility for my actions because the only one I can control is me, nobody
Mm-hmm.
else.
Mm.
All right,
Yeah, yeah.
and everybody has the same rights as we all do, and I
Mm-hmm.
honor equality. I'm going to be patient with myself and patient with others, and
Mm-hmm.
so you see the whole picture. It's no longer distorted by fear.
Mm.
You see
Hmm.
how it is, and you raise them up to being reasonable. It's
Uh-huh.
like, "Hey, I can understand why this fear happened. And
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. But you're not in that situation anymore.
Uh-huh.
That's in the past. We're now focused in the present, in this moment of power right now. And we're going to
Mm.
seek solutions."
Mm-hmm.
So it's me showing that I have a deep respect for him and
Mm-hmm.
I honor him as well as I honor everybody.
Uh.
So you see how it all aligns in. You're having
Mm.
understanding, you're educating them. They have gratitude, I have gratitude, we have appreciation for each other.
Uh-huh.
And it and it helps people grow because you're not judging them, you're not
Mm-hmm.
making them feel inadequate or small, you're inspiring them.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the 4D off there real quick. Unless you want to talk about the 5D real quick.
Well, the 5D is really cool because that's where you manifest and that's where the magic happens.
Mm.
Okay? It really
Okay.
is. So, when it came to, me manifesting anything, I would align with that frequency of love as if
Mm-hmm.
I already have it, where I am playful, fun, I have true happiness, and I just feel blessed in
Uh-huh.
life. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
joyful. I feel it's complete.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an egotistical desire, it's a heart desire.
Yeah.
And whenever I've done this, and it is in the first book that I wrote, Affirming and Focusing on Living a Better Life, where I tell stories where I manifested money and I never focused on the money. I focused
Mm.
on what the money would do for me. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
manifested a house. I've manifested, um, I've, God, the list of so many things. I mean, the most cool one that I manifested
Uh-huh.
was a Wii for my kids. So I'll tell that quick story, really, really quick.
Okay.
So my daughter at the time when she was in high school wanted a Wii, really, really
Mm.
wanted it, and I knew
Uh-huh.
my mom had one, and my mom never used it. It was still brand new in the box. She
Uh-huh.
had everything, and my brother and I tried convincing her. We tried talking to her, give it to her for her birthday, maybe Christmas. You know, you haven't used it.
Mm-hmm.
She'd really love it, and she would say, "No, no, no, I'm going to use it one day." She never did.
Ah.
So I decided I'm going to manifest this. And what I did was I got it in my mind that, and I would visualize, really in my heart, visualize my kids in the playroom, playing on the Wii, laughing with their friends, doing the dance off things, you know, running away from monsters and screaming. And I would say my kids had the best Wii, the best Wii, the best games. My kids love their Wii, and I love my kids, and my kids are so full of happiness and joy. And I would see it, and I would feel it, and I would milk it for all it's worth, and I would let it go.
Uh-huh.
And I went on and just being a realist, because I'm a realistic person, I looked up what it cost to buy a refurbished Wii, and it was about
Uh-huh.
$100.
Ah.
So I saved up $100, and that's
Uh-huh.
without any games. And I
Uh-huh.
had it in my wallet with the intention of I'm going to buy a Wii. And
Uh-huh.
periodically, when my daughter would ask about the Wii, I would just stop and visualize, yes, it's coming, it's coming. And it
Uh-huh.
only took me 2 weeks to get this.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So about around that 2 week mark, I went to pick up my web developer because I needed some help, and he got in the car and he had a paper bag. And I
Uh-huh.
said, "Hey, what's that?" And he said, "Well, I'm a little short on cash, and my mom and I were wondering if you wanted to buy this." And I'm like, "What is it?" And he said, "It's a Wii." And I'm like,
Ooh.
"What? A Wii?" He didn't know. I didn't tell him. "A Wii? Really? Okay, well, how much do you want for it?" And he said, "Well, I've loaded on an external hard drive 30 free games
Uh.
along with the Wii, and I'm wondering if you want to buy it for $60."
Jeez.
And I looked at the guy, but here's how the universe works. I looked at
Uh-huh.
the guy and I said, "I can't buy it for 60
Mm.
bucks. I can buy it for $100, and here's
Uh-huh.
why. Because I was planning on buying a Wii without any games, and you're giving me 30 free games for free.
Mm-hmm.
Will
Yeah.
you take it for $100? That's the right thing to do." And he's like,
Uh-huh.
"Yes, yes, yes." When he did the math on the games, it was
Uh-huh.
$3,000 in free games.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
Three. So I did get my kids the best Wii.
Yeah, for sure. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. That is one heck of a story, and it's interesting that it happened in such that way because it just highlights that it comes about in a way we don't recognize or really anticipate, right? Because that's where the magic's at.
It's all heart centered. If you
Mm.
listen to anyone talking about spiritual stuff, they say you have to align with the heart. The
Mm.
heart actually is more intelligent and powerful than our brain.
Huh.
Science
Weird.
has proven this. It is more intelligent. There have been studies like heart math
Mm.
where they have put all these wires on people and they have them sit in front of a computer, and they'll
Mm.
quickly flash images like a baby or a snake jumping or this and that. And
Mm.
every single time the heart picked up the signal first, sent it
Mm.
to the brain, and then told the body how to respond. If it's a
Huh.
snake, ah. If it's a
Huh.
cute kitten, ah. You
Yeah.
get what I mean? The
Uh-huh.
heart is all, the heart is a brain.
Mm-hmm. I'm
And when you want to manifest, you line up with 5D.
okay. Huh. So, real quick, on the left where it says numbers 500, 540, 600,
Yes.
700 to 1000, is that hertz?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the frequency. It's the alignment.
Hmm.
It's amazing, the frequencies. I mean, because we are energetic beings.
Mm-hmm.
We are magnetic beings, and
Uh-huh.
we bring things to us. And so that's why I say, when we bring to us a horrible person into our lives, our nervous system is bringing them to us because it's familiar. It literally
Hmm.
is the medicine you need to heal. It's
Hmm.
not what you want to hear, but it is the medicine your soul needs to heal. And that's
Ooh.
why I break it all down about intermittent validation, how
Hmm.
we're wired. It's like the gambling addiction. It literally turns into an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't, realize that. And so when we can learn the red flags, when we can learn the signs and the patterns within ourselves,
Uh-huh.
that's your place of power. That's when you can change. But if
Hmm.
if you're in the dark, you're just on autopilot.
Yeah. Yep. In autopilot, we're literally shooting in the dark. And we don't know what we're aiming for necessarily, right? And that's the hard part.
Right. Well, and then we beat ourselves up because we're like, why do I keep attracting these same people over and
Mm-hmm.
over and over?
Yep.
Why? I answer those questions. I answer the question of, like, why is it so hard to leave an abusive person? And it
Mm-hmm.
all comes down to your nervous system. It
Mm.
does. I mean, I'm
Oh.
working on an episode right now about, the lies we're told of, like, you can't survive without me. You're not going to make it without me. And
Mm-hmm.
why they do that and how they do that. And
Mm.
it's just a form of manipulation and control. But
Mm-hmm.
when you learn about this stuff, that's your place of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
if they don't get that place of power, then they can't do anything about it, right?
No, they can't do anything about it. So, really, they are your teacher to get you in a place of power, to
Mm.
remind you that I'm not going to fall for these games and this crap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worth a lot more. And that's why a lot of people question, am I broken? Am I flawed? You've never been broken. You're
Mm.
just becoming. You're
Ooh.
becoming your authentic self. You're finding, what does Keegan need in life to thrive and be happy?
Mm. Yeah. Ooh. That's a really good way to put that. Uh, we are becoming, we are not perfect.
Yes. You're not
Hmm.
broken, you are becoming.
Hmm. Yeah, because ooh, that just ties everything up really well. And real quick, I just noticed the time. This episode is near the end point, but it's been such an amazing just 53 minutes that I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe it's only been 53 minutes. Well, not, you know what I mean. So my
It
question
goes
is,
fast.
yes, do you think we could see you on for diving further into how to get
Yeah.
into 4D and everything like that as well? And I did have a game kind of ready to go, but we're past that point at the moment. And but real quick for everyone out there, where can they find you? It's mastertheupperrooms.com, correct?
Yeah, well, there's actually, there's mastertheupperrooms.com is
Okay.
for the free images. There's podcast stuff on there. There's free
Okay.
ebooks, free audio, MP3 downloads. Um,
Okay.
there's the other podcast and website is the undetected narcissist. And that
Ooh.
one I made for people that are empaths, people that are sensitive, people that are like truth seekers. Like,
Mm.
why did this happen to me? Why did I attract this person? And I answer the questions. There's lots of free meditations on there. I break down, the pain story versus the soul lesson. Healing
Uh-huh.
happens in layers. Just,
Mm.
dismantling the walls we build. I talk about all kinds of stuff, and I'm on season 4 of that.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
there's lots of juicy information, and it's all designed to get you out of the human perspective and into the soul perspective. Like, why am I here? Why did this happen? I want to get
Hmm.
you out of the victim mentality and into true empowerment.
Ooh, okay. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I did flash it on the screen for anyone that was there, and it's undetectednarcissist.com.
Yep.
Awesome. So, for anyone out there listening, it's undetectednarcissist.com and mastertheupperrooms.com. So, I'll make sure
Yep.
to have all those in the episode description and everything right here. But, man, I've got so many questions. Like, I've got a lot of information, but that's kind of the thing is that I'm one of the people that always has to ask why to the why to the why.
Yes.
Whenever I get one answer, it's like, okay, cool, but why? Like, how far can we go? Because that is ultimately where everything springs from, right? If we can understand source, if we can get to that, then everything else makes sense, or it should.
It should, because the reality is we are all divine beings. We just
Mm,
forgot that. We lost our way. All of us are love and light, created
mm,
out of love and light. And and it is why we're here, is to learn lessons. That's what Earth is a school of lessons. And we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to evolve, we're here to awaken ourselves and become one with everything once again, because everything is connected. There
mm,
is oneness. And so
yep.
someone today asked me if, what was the greatest gift if you talk to your future self? What would that be? And I said, the
Mm,
greatest gift in this lifetime for me was I became one with my creator, where I am
mm,
one with divinity, I am one with grace, I am one with calmness and peace and pure consciousness. I am one with that, and that is such a gift and blessing that I gave myself, because I have a huge history of trauma. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this, is
mm,
I know that journey,
yeah.
and I know out of that journey. And that's
Mm,
why I do this stuff.
mm,
Is what did I learn that I can share with you, so you don't have to go through the same thing.
yeah. Ooh, I love that. That is the best way that someone can learn too, is by from someone that has walked through it. And I'm really sorry to hear that it's been a very traumatic past and everything like that. And I'm just really glad that you have gotten to where you are so that you can do this for
Yeah.
me, for the audience, for the world, and I mean, ultimately help bring people back to their divinity one conversation at a time, right?
Yes. Because when you heal yourself and you gain that knowledge, then you are a light for other people.
Mm.
It has that ripple effect. It really
Uh-huh.
does. I mean, without any of your trauma experiences, you probably wouldn't have this podcast.
No, not even a
And
little
so
bit.
that whole experience was a gift. It was a blessing, and you can
Mhm.
now see that. It
Mhm.
made you a better person, a stronger person.
Yeah. Yep. And you're right. Without the history, without the traumas and all that, I would be a very boring person, you know. And there's that saying I saw on one of the Facebook feeds that was talking about maybe everything that you're getting is preparing you for what you asked for. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
I've made some big asks in the past about helping people, and so I'm like, oh, now that I'm learning all this, it's like, oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But why? I wish someone had told me that sooner. You know, just like, hey, if you want to help people, be ready to go through some shit because that's how you're going to help people. So,
No, it is true, because if you, a lot of times you haven't walked that path, you can't relate.
mm-mm.
And when someone talks about the trauma, you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to respond. And
Yeah,
that's why it is good to talk to someone that has been in the trenches, that has sat in their shit,
yeah,
being honest, And
Uh-huh.
but they learned from it, they growed from it, they became a, they turned it into fertilizer.
Yeah.
So, and it bloomed something beautiful, which is you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and we have to be able to have that mirror point back to ourselves in the sense of I'm looking at other people and I'm seeing the good in them because that's also showing what's good in
Yes.
me. So,
Yes, and when you see something that you don't like in a person, what I always do is I bless them. I'm like, I
mm,
bless you and I hope you find your way. I really,
yeah.
that's the only gift I can give them is I bless you and I hope you find your way. I'm not here to fix them. I'm not here to point out their flaws or imperfections. When they
Mm,
want help, they know where they can go. But for now, I'm just going to bless you and hope you find your way.
I love that because it really does just give the personal power back to them and right back to you. And
Yeah.
everyone just goes their separate ways, and hopefully everything turns out the way that it should. Well, I mean, it will turn out the way that it
Yes.
should. I mean, it
Yes,
really
it
just depends
will.
on your line of thinking. So,
Yeah, this is true.
uh, but with that being said, we are going to see you on in the future. People can find you
Yes.
at Master the Upper Class, Master
Upper
the Upper
rooms.
Rooms.com,
And undetected narcissists. Yeah.
and undetectednarcissist.com.
Yeah.
But with that, do you have any last words for the audience today? Anything you want to leave them with? Any golden nuggets of wisdom? Any one
I
liners?
would say, yeah, whatever is going on in your life, no matter how messed it up it is, the best mantra really is this is only temporary and only something good can come from this.
Mm,
That's the
mm,
best. That was my life saving mantra for me when I was going through such a dark time. I had to repeat that over and over to keep my sanity. This is
mm.
only temporary, because that's true, and
Yeah.
only something good can come from this. And I'm putting that out there in the universe that I know something good is going to come from this. I'm not staying stuck in the victim mentality. I'm just being unattached to any outcome and just see what the universe gives me.
Mm. I love that. I think I need to repeat that to myself a little bit more often now. So, Kerie, with that being said, I've got to thank you very much for being on Retrieving Sanity. This was an amazing episode, and I'm so excited to dive in even further to what we can do to stay out of 3D consciousness and how to dive further and be in 4D consciousness more of the
Yes.
time. So,
Yes, yes. I would love to unpack that, and you can just pick my brain.
oh yes, that would be awesome because I've got questions abound, and I'm sure once I ask one, we'll have three more ready to go like a rabbit.
Yeah.
So,
It's all good.
with that, everyone out there, thank you very much for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. This has been Keegan, and this has been Kerie. So, like always, love yourself if you can, love others if you can, but you got to love yourself first, and just try to stay a little bit positive. If you need help with anything, reach out to someone. The phone is heavy sometimes, but it's not that heavy. But just try to be kind to yourself, and we will see you all next week. So until then, much love. Schlan and there we go.